Morning, everybody, and welcome to the February 10th Financial and Administrative Services Committee. My name is Dylan Bressie. I get to chair today. The voting members on this committee are Councillors Palat, Councillor Flack, and of course, Mayor Clayton. And I have the privilege of starting our day with a land acknowledgement. I want to acknowledge that the city respectfully acknowledges the Beaver, Cree, Dene, and Métis people as original caretakers of these lands and surrounding areas. We're grateful to live, learn, work, and play on Treaty 8 territory within Turtle Island, and acknowledge these lands have been home to diverse and sovereign First Nations and Inuit nations since time immemorial. As I was out in that cold wind yesterday, I especially appreciated the people who have been on this land since time immemorial, who were taking care of it before me or my family ever got here. First up, we've got adoption of the agenda. Is anybody willing to move that? Councillor Flack.
Yeah, I move that committee adopt the agenda as presented.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
That motion carries, and we have no delegation, so I'll turn it over to Chief Whiteway for her service area update.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair Bressie. So the financial management team is preparing for the 2025 year-end audit. So they're completing the required documentation, and field work is scheduled for the first 2 weeks of March. The audited financial statements will be presented to committee April 21st, with final approval from council on April 27th. Asset management is in the final stages of contract signing for new asset management and maintenance software. The asset maintenance component will first be introduced to facilities, fleet, parks, and engineering and transportation, and then onboarding of other departments subsequent to go live. The asset management components will then be utilized with collaboration of the maintenance data to provide forecasting for all asset replacement. Our taxation and assessment team have mailed out notices. The assessment notices were mailed on January 22nd. These assessments will be used to levy the 2026 property taxes. And property owners are encouraged to contact the assessment department if they have any questions regarding their property assessment. The final date to file a complaint is March 31st. However, before filing a complaint, property owners are encouraged to discuss their concerns with an assessor. Tax is working on tax sale processes as the tax sale is coming up on March 13th. Procurement and supply chain have 6 bids on the market right now. Outdoor furniture, orthophoto and LiDAR data collection, RCMP building HVAC upgrades, a notice of intent for emergency police dispatch program, storm sewer flow monitoring, and irrigation services. Our GIS and IT team, GIS is submitting a conference submission for Esri users to showcase the mapping solutions that were used to support the 2025 Alberta Summer Special Olympics. Additionally, GIS collaborated with our Community Social Development and the Council on Aging to support senior snow removal during significant snowfall events through the development of a web-based interactive mapping solution. And additionally, the GIS team is working in collaboration with the County of Grande Prairie, advancing the procurement for the 2026 high-resolution aerial imagery to support planning, analysis, and decision-making across both organizations. This RFP is currently in the Q&A stage, and evaluations are planned for late February. And finally, the ITS technology team is doing discovery sessions with departments to better understand the business systems, applications, and tools in active use. These sessions focus on identifying operational challenges, system ownership, cybersecurity considerations, and technology-related dependencies. The goal here is to strengthen service delivery and inform a coordinated long-term technology roadmap aligned with departmental needs. And that completes my update.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Not seeing any more, so Chief Whiteway, I'll turn it right back to you to tee up our audit service plan.
Perfect. Thanks, Chair Bressie. Today I have with us Tanya Edmonds from MNP LLP, who is our third-party auditors. She will be presenting the 2025 audit service plan. Today's recommendation is that the Financial and Administrative Services Committee recommend Council approve the audit service plan as presented. And the 2025 audit service plan was prepared by MNP, and it'll outline the approach, scope, and details of the audit engagement, including timelines, risk assessment, and response, and key changes and developments that may impact the city's financial reporting. And with that, I would ask that our auditor, Ms. Tanya Edmonds, come present the audit service plan.
Well, thank you, Ms. Edmonds. Welcome. You can just have a seat and pull one of those microphones close to you. And just for the benefit of committee, what the plan is we'll have a public presentation. We'll be able to ask questions, and then we'll move in camera so we can also ask any questions we might want to ask without management in the room as well. But Ms. Edmonds.
It's all mine?
Yep.
Okay.
Yours.
So, yeah, I'm here to talk about the 2025 audit service plan. And so as part of that, MNP will issue an independent auditor's report on the financial statements as well as the municipal financial information return. MNP is independent of council and of management. We don't make any decisions and we don't sit on any boards. So there really are no key changes, thankfully, for 2025. Last year we had some, but nothing in the current year. There's one change that will impact the 2027 financial statements, but that's only on financial statement and disclosure and the way that some of the information is presented, but nothing for 2025. There are a few new assurance developments that will impact more me than you in a couple of years, and that's about going concern and on our responsibility for fraud, but nothing that will impact 2025 financial statements. The consolidation, so your financial statements will be consolidated in with the library and the airport, as well as the percentage ownership of ATIA. So that's the complete financial statements will include all of those entities when we present in April. So the risk assessment, there is nothing specific or concerning to the city. We have to, when we do our risk procedures, we do it based on our knowledge, based on some of the guidance in the handbook, and based on professional judgment. So one of the things that we will look at, we always look at internal controls and overriding with journal entries and things like that to make sure that all entries that are made have been approved. We look at property taxes receivable and more from a management point of view that there's no override of controls, that nobody's writing off their own property taxes. We also do look at expense claims, just to make sure also that all of the expense claims are supported with valid, invoices and support, and the same thing with credit cards. We do look at those, even though they may not be a material number, it's just an area that we do focus on. We also will spend some time looking at agreements receivable and any restricted grants that you may receive from anyone, just to make sure that the organization did meet the guidelines set forth by the grant, to make sure that we're following the proper handbook criteria. And again, we will also make sure that the ATIA, because there's such a big number to you consolidating in, we will make sure that that is appropriately recorded as well. The other areas that we will look at that are not as significant, but we still will spend some time, is the site contamination and the landfill. We'll look at debt. Because of the interest swaps, they're a little bit more complex, and any concessionary items. That was an area that we talked about last year, and we will continue to look at it this year just to make sure that any policies have been updated and or any amounts have been recorded. So we will meet. We have done interim testing. We are here in November. We will be here in the first couple of weeks of March, and we will issue in April. April 21st is when we will be presenting to council, and then the 27th, hopefully it will be approved. Or we'll be presenting to the committee, and then on the 27th. So materiality, when we go through our financial statements, the number that we use to determine if a set of financial statements is materially wrong or not is $6.7 million. And that number is based on 3% of budgeted expenses, and it's on the lower end of the threshold set forth by the accounting standards. If that was based on budget, if the budgeted number is quite a bit lower than what we had planned, I will reduce the materiality. We had to just use the number when we were doing interim testing. So group audit, as I mentioned, we will have to consolidate in. One of the areas that we have to is ATIA, and I've been in contact with their auditor to make sure that they're going to do any procedures that we would like covered. And then the airport, M&P is also the auditor of that, so I don't need to contact them as formally as I would with somebody else. So the fees and assumptions, the fee is in there for $92,430. That was based on the RFP last year. And that is essentially a summary of it. Included in your package is the full report. It would have had the independence letter also, and as well as the engagement letter.
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any questions from my committee colleagues? A couple questions I've got is, number one, for some of the new liability requirements we've got, is there MNP expertise you engage for actuarial assumptions or environmental assumptions, or are you just relying on management's?
Right now, in the past, we will what would I say? Yes, I guess it was internal. We did not do any valuation on any of the asset retirement obligations.
Okay. And then another question I had is, do you have so we've got the list of who's going to be engaged in the audits, but do you folks have a benchmark or a percentage you're trying to hit of partner time versus associate time?
We don't have a benchmark as such. All of our time is based on the risk assessment and what we need to do to meet the standards, but I don't have 10% of the time has to be partner time or any such thing like that.
Okay, so generally about how much percentage of partner work is this versus associate work that we see?
Good question. I'd say it's 10 to 15% though. Off the top of my head, that's what I would say.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. That's partner time's about that?
That's what my time will be, at least that in here, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any, so Councillor Flack, would you be willing to make a motion?
Yeah, I move, or committee move in camera to discuss matters protected under Section 29 of the Access to Information Act.
Excellent, thank you. That is definitely in order, and just the purpose of this is just as a matter of good governance. It's routine that you have some conversations with the auditor without management in the room, so that's certainly in order, and I will call that to question. And Bressie is in favor.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
Plot in favor.
everybody. And is somebody willing to make a motion that committee recommend council approve the audit service plan as presented? Councillor Flack, I'll call that to question.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Bressie. Committee, it's already there.
No,
Yeah, I move committee recommend council approve the audit service plan as presented.
call that to question. That motion carries. And then that brings us to borrowing bylaws. I'll turn it over to Chief Whiteway.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. So the first is Bylaw C 1491, Public Safety Communications Center Borrowing Bylaw. And the recommendation today is that committee recommend council give first reading to Bylaw C 1491, the Public Safety Communications Center Borrowing Bylaw as presented. So approved at budget was the PSCC project that will consolidate 911, police, fire, municipal enforcement services, and mobile outreach into a single co-located center in the City on 99th building. This project will streamline how emergency and non-emergency public safety calls are received, triaged, and dispatched. As approved at budget, the total debt required for this project is $7.61 million. These debt servicing costs have been incorporated into the 2026 operating budget. The construction period allows for 1 year of interest-only borrowing, with the term loan to commence afterwards. The borrowing bylaw is for a debenture of up to $7.61 million plus interest to be paid over 15 years through the operating budget. The city has sufficient debt limit and debt servicing capacity to proceed with the borrowing for this project as proposed, and administration recommends approving borrowing bylaw C 1491. Thank you.
I see Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. Not a question about the borrowing as much, but I know it's a little bit late for this in some ways, but I'm really struggling that we're spending $8.46 million on a building that's already built. Can I just get some high-level detail of how we're spending that much money, I guess, to make this happen? I realize that there's some IT services and things that have to go in there, but can I get a little bit of a breakdown of how that's being allocated, if that's possible? Building construction, is this licensing agreements? It's an awful lot of money for an existing building.
Mr. Burke?
Chief Miller's away today, but I'll get you a more extensive list. But this does include also the substantial amount of technology that has to go in to this building to operate as a 911 integrated dispatch. But I'd have to get you the specific list, which we're happy to do here, before this goes to council on Monday.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mayor Clayton?
Thanks for that. Similar, echoing some of Councillor Plott's questions, in that information for council before their decision on Monday, could you include a little bit of background on the services themselves, the lifespan of the services, and the capability? My understanding is that the capability could, if required in the future, include EMS dispatch. And so can you maybe in the report include a high-level explanation of lifespan and capability capacity of the infrastructure that's being implemented for dispatch? Thanks.
Mr. Burke?
Yes, we can include some further background.
Anybody else have any questions? Is anybody willing to make a motion to refer this to council? Mayor Clayton?
Thanks for that, Councillor Bressie. I would move that committee recommend council give first reading to bylaw C-1491, being the Public Safety Communications Center borrowing bylaw as presented.
Thank you. I'll call that to question, then I've actually got another question, but I'll call that to question first. Thank you. And then just a procedural question I had. Am I recalling right that because it's a borrowing bylaw, we won't actually pass 3 readings on Monday if council wants it? We'll truly just do first reading and then it'll go to public advertisement for a few weeks?
Thank you, through the chair. Correct. So you'll have first reading, and then the bylaw must be advertised for 2 consecutive weeks, followed by a 15-day petition period before it can be put forward for the second and third readings.
So we've got over a month before we make a final decision on this. Thank you. And then I'll turn it back to you for the next one.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair Bressy. So second borrowing bylaw today is Bylaw C-1492. Recommendation is that committee recommend council give first reading to Bylaw C-1492, Mission Heights Storm Infrastructure Borrowing Bylaw as presented. As of the third quarter of 2025, the city's remaining debt limit as per policy 350 was 115 million and available debt servicing of 7.98 million, making it more than sufficient for borrowing this 5 million. There's debt servicing capacity as well to support the estimated annual costs of 375,000 on this debenture. The debt servicing costs for the Mission Heights Storm Infrastructure Project are incorporated into the 2026 operating budget. The bylaw accounts for a construction period with interest-only payments, with the term of the loan to commence afterwards. The borrowing bylaw is for a debenture of up to 5 million plus interest to be paid over 20 years through the operating budget. And with that, just to conclude, administration does recommend that this be forwarded to council for 5 million to fund this project. Thank you.
Any questions? Anybody willing to make the motion? Councillor Flack?
Yeah, move committee recommend council give first reading to bylaw C-1492, being the Mission Heights Stormwater Infrastructure Borrowing Bylaw as presented.
Motion is certainly in order, and I will call that to question. Motion carries, which brings us to our outstanding items list. Chief Whiteway.
Thank you, Chair Bressy. No changes to the outstanding list as presented.
Okay. Councillor Plott, willing to get on the scoreboard and move this one?
Sure, Chair Bressy, I would move that we accept the outstanding items list as presented.
Okay. All in favor?
Councillor Plott in favor.
That motion carries, and with that, I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.